Happy Monday, Chicago Cubs fans, and we are back with another edition of Cubs Daily. My name is Steven Ryan. We're going to talk about the weekend series that we just had with the Houston Astros. We're going to talk about a big-time trade rumor developing. We are in serious talks with the Pittsburgh Pirates, apparently, and we'll give a little halfway assessment on the Cubs. I know they just played over their 82nd game, but let's talk about where we're sitting a little bit over halfway through the season, and then we'll get to some of your viewer comments. We had a lot of colorful comments on the last video, so I want to hear your guys' thoughts, and I want to break them down. So, the Cubs dropped 2 of 3 from the Astros. They did win on Saturday in a blowout fashion, but again, it kind of came down to the same thing. The pitching has been figured out a little bit. Cade Horton's obviously young. He's going to get hit sometimes. Astros, the pedigree, even though they're not the same team that won the World Series, they're still a good franchise that knows how to develop talent, and that clearly showed in that game as well. The deal with Isaac Paredes and Kyle Tucker and Cam Smith has worked out for both sides, I would say. It seems to be mutually beneficial for both, which is fantastic to see. But, again, it kind of came down to it on Sunday, and, let's just talk about a best-of-3 scenario, right, where if it's do or die for the Cubs, and they face the team's number one because the season's on the line. We don't have that. Shota's good. Like I said, I would have loved to see Shota versus Framber Valdez, but it didn't come to fruition. So I do need to see some of those matchups before I'm totally jumping off the board, but that's what we faced on Sunday, was a true number one ace, and they blanked us. And the Astros pitching has just been absolutely incredible this last stretch here, and has catapulted them into first place in the AL West, and they aren't looking to stop here anytime soon. So, again, the Astros looked very solid. They beat the Phillies. They swept the Phillies the series before in dominating fashion. I think they're 32-14 at home or some crazy record. So, hey, Astros are rolling. Maybe we caught them at the wrong time, etc. But Cubs dropped 2 of 3. We get the day off, which is much needed, and it's back to Wrigley to face Cleveland. We'll talk about that series more tomorrow. We got plenty of other stuff to discuss today right here on Cubs Daily. So, Cubs are in serious trade talks with the Pirates. Now, I've heard a lot of different names being thrown out in regards to the Pittsburgh Pirates, okay? Mitch Keller is a big one. I believe I talked about him the other day here on the channel. Mitch Keller's a big one. He's in the second year of a $77 million deal, kind of right in that perfect sweet spot for the Cubs. They get some long-term and good depth added to the rotation. Doesn't solve the number one ace problem, but a very solid idea. David Bednar, he's an all-star, a former all-star at least. He's been a very solid closer in the league for a long time. He could help solve some issues here for the Cubs. And a recent rumor that I did hear was they are interested in Ke'Bryan Hayes. Now, Ke'Bryan Hayes is an absolute stud defensively for the Pirates. Unfortunately, the offense has yet to have been figured out for him in that sense, but maybe the Cubs see something in his swing that they like. I'm not sure. I think Mitch Keller's the highest probability that we trade for on the team. I've seen a lot more rumors too recently where the Cubs are trading for a starter and the team's closer. We'll talk about this rumor later this week, but I saw Joe Ryan and Johan Duran pairing to trade for. That would be very enticing as well. There's a lot of moves the Cubs can make. You just kind of got to think and choose and make sure you make the right one. And I'm going to say this, ladies and gentlemen, as much as we do need to make a move to help this season, you don't want to make the wrong move, and you don't want to put too much into jeopardy in that sense. But curious to see where the Cubs end up here during the trade season. Again, lots of trade rumors being happening. I'm still just genuinely curious if the Pirates are going to make a deal with us. I don't think they necessarily want to trade within the division, but they also do have to make a trade to trade some of their better players, not tank for a number one pick, but start getting younger prospects in return that can maybe help them win a few years down the line, or at least come up within the next few years and help this team while they have Paul Skeens still. Now, again, Pirates are in division. That's why I'm not 100% sure if they're going to make a deal with them. There are a lot of other teams out there. A lot of different factors and possibilities exist. We are on the last day of June, so the trades are about to heat up, and you're going to catch it all right here on Cubs Daily, ladies and gentlemen. So make sure you guys are liking the videos, you're subscribed to the channels, and again, comment here below your thoughts. I want to hear them, all of them, positive or negative. So we are just over halfway in the season, and the Cubs are sitting in first place. We are only 2 games up on the Brewers. We're a few more ahead of the Cardinals, and the Reds and Pirates are kind of hanging out in the back. Well, the Pirates are just hanging out in the way back. The Reds are flirting with, being in the fight for the division, but they need to make a push here within the next few weeks to really, really get in there. And I think they will. So the NL Central is still up for grabs. The Cubs have not been playing their best baseball, but that does mean, as much as we're not playing our best baseball, that means our best baseball still has yet to be played, and I'm kind of excited for that on that front. Shota coming back. Hopefully he can remain healthy. Hopefully we can make a move and get a pitcher that supplements our staff, but maybe doesn't compromise the future of the franchise, because, that's kind of what we need to do here. But again, we're sitting really pretty. If you're telling me facing that April schedule, facing the injuries that we are going to deal with, that we're sitting 2 games up, entering July 1st, I would have been like, deal. I would have handshook on that deal right away. No questions asked. So I'm very happy with where the Cubs are at. Of course, do I think we can improve? Absolutely. But you have a top 4 record in baseball. It's tough to beat that, okay? The Dodgers are absolutely incredible. The Tigers are absolutely incredible as well. So can't complain about where we're at. We could just keep playing the games in front of us. And another good test is coming up here tomorrow against the Guardians. The Guardians are a very solid ball club. It's going to take some good effort to beat them. They're not playing their best, but maybe the Cubs can get right against them, heading into the All-Star break, giving us that momentum for that second half push. So, we've had a lot of comments on the most recent video. I do want to preface that the most recent video, I talked about Tariq Skubal. I talked about Tariq Skubal potentially being a free agent. Not a free agent. Potentially being traded. I don't think that's going to happen, since a lot of you love to listen to the videos. You like to watch, but you don't like to listen. A lot of the people do listen here on Cubs Daily, though. I do want to clarify that. All I was doing was going over his comments, and he just said the business side of baseball is ugly. And all that was said was, hey, if they can't reach a deal this offseason, the Tigers might need to consider trading him. That was all that was said. I was like, hey, that's a fun thought. What would it take? I would love to add Tariq Skubal to the team. If you're a fan of any baseball team, you want to add Tariq Skubal to your team. But the first comment we did see here in the video is from 77 Tungsten. He said, PCA is slumping a bit. Wish he would watch Tucker and just swing at strikes. He's always in the pitcher's count instead of a 3-1 and gets himself out. Where's the batting coach, the video replay, etc., etc.? Tungsten, you're absolutely correct. I did respond to this because I'm not sure how much of it is PCA's just a young kid in his second full season in the big leagues and having a lot of success, or it's kind of his habit and it's just led to his success. But you're absolutely right. I think if the Cubs can re-sign Kyle Tucker, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. PCA and Tucker are going to get together, the hitting coach, the batting coach, etc. They are going to figure this out. I do imagine that over time, PCA is going to get a little bit more patient. He is a little bit swing happy. He does swing at a lot of trash in the ground and above him at the strike zone. But unfortunately, he does hit it as well. So, I mean, that's kind of the poison with him, right? Like, if he hits home runs that are in the dirt and above the strike zone, he's going to swing at it because he's done it before. He's got the confidence to pull that off. So, Tungsten, I don't disagree with you, man. I do think that he needs to be a little bit more patient, but you gotta be able to be like, hey, I need you to be aggressive still too. So I don't disagree with you at all. There was another comment talking about him being the leadoff hitter. I would love PCA to be the leadoff hitter for this Cubs team, maybe next year or the year after, but they're very set on Hap. I'm not the biggest Hap fan personally, but Hap's been solid. So can't complain. Again, the offense is just struggling. The team is just kind of, it's not playing at the performance it was playing in April and early May. So our second comment. This is kind of the one that sparked it all right, ladies and gentlemen? So bear with me. Just bear with me. All right. Said, how much Cubby Kool-Aid did you guzzle before you posted this? Well, sir, all I did was read some comments, or I read that comment by Tariq Skubal, and I just related it back to the Cubs, okay? So that's all I did. I was trying to prospect the thought of maybe, if the Cubs aren't too aggressive in the trade deadline this trade season, that if somehow, again, I don't know how many times I could say, somehow Tariq Skubal became available in a trade, what would it take to trade for him, okay? That was the whole point. I don't think it's going to happen. I do think that the Tigers are going to try everything in their power to re-sign him, Samuel Burks. I do think that he is going to stay a Detroit Tiger. I don't think they want to trade him, Samuel Burks. So, again, don't be like the guy I just flashed up in front of you, okay? be like Mike. Just ask me how much Cubby Kool-Aid I was drinking, okay? I don't think it's going to happen, but in the hypothetical land that the Tigers can't agree to an extension with him, and that he, you know, if they can't agree to an extension with him and he has 1 year left to control, what do? Do you let him walk after the year after? You don't win the World Series this year or the year after. You let him walk for nothing? The Cy Young Award winner? I don't think so. That's just how I see it. The Cubs, again, if they're not too aggressive this trade deadline and they have the ammo this offseason, they might be able to swing him. I don't know. Again, a lot of dominoes have to fall for it to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm just speaking hypotheticals, okay, ladies and gentlemen? There's a lot of players out there. There's a lot of possibilities. I'm not sure which one's going to happen. And knowing this franchise, none of the players that I have mentioned are the ones they are going to trade for, okay? So, again, let's chill. Let's chill, okay? I love all the comments, good or bad, but don't be like my man, okay? All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be back tomorrow with another video. We'll preview the Guardians. We'll talk more trade rumors. Again, I mentioned that Twins trade. We got a trade potentially with the Royals as well. Not all of these trades are going to happen. I just want to hear your guys and gals' thoughts in the comments. Which rumor should the Cubs go after? If you could push the button and the Cubs could go after a guy, let me know your thoughts. I want to hear it. I'll see you guys tomorrow.